Good morning, everyone. Dan Bates, President and CEO of Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, and we are glad you could join us this morning for Coffee and Conversation. You are in for a super treat today. We have Darla Kirchner, who is one of our long distance members. And, you know, I'm not fully understanding the topic she's going to be talking about today, but it's efficiencies and how it make people feel and all that. Darla is the master at your business perception to others, communication, and so I'm sure that the topic will be fascinating because she always is. So thank you for joining us today, Darla. We are on Zoom, so if you have any questions, I'm sure Darla won't mind if you interrupt her and ask those questions. If you're on Facebook Live, which tends to be our larger part of the audience, type those questions in. Laura will get them answered for you. And we're going to get started here. So you know who I am, you know what the protocol is. Darla will do further introductions of herself once she gets started. Let's find out who else is with us this morning. Who's doing self-introductions?
I am.
Thank you, Tiffany.
All right. I'm not feeling well today, so I'm having my camera off. I'm Tiffany Grubb, Director of Marketing with the Greater Hamilton Chamber. I'm just going to go around my screen when I call your name. If you could say your name and what company you're with. And we will start with Laura Merrill.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Laura Merrill with the Greater Hamilton Chamber.
Faith.
I'm Faith. I'm the intern with the Greater Hamilton Chamber.
All right. Maria.
Hello, good morning. My name is Maria from Migori Event Rentals.
And Maria had a lovely booth at Hamilpalooza. I loved that 360 photo booth. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Jason.
Good morning, Jason Michael Miller, Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. Darla, I am super excited to see your presentation today.
All right. And Darla, I think you can go ahead and start.
Okay. All right. Well, my name is Darla Kirchner. I'm originally from the Ohio area. I lived in Liberty Township in Westchester since I was in junior in high school. So it's and now for the last 5 years, which is hard to believe, it's been 5 years since I've been down here in Hilton Head
Wow.
Island. So I live in beautiful Hilton Head Island in South Carolina, where it's still very, very hot and humid, but that's okay. So we have lots to share with you today. My background, let me see if I can share my screen. Aha, there it is. In just 1 second. Oh, wait. 1 second here, gang. Trying to get it to share what I wanted to share. Okay, I'm gonna try this again and see. There it is. Do y'all see this?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna hit present mode. Now it should be bigger. Is that good?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. So my background is in originally in design. I had a brick and mortar studio in Liberty Township. And then from there, I went online after the big crash of um, the recession in 20. For me, it felt like it was '08 through '12. I don't know about everybody else, but for me, it felt like that. And I went online and started reinvented myself in the online space. And so I started working on building websites and branding and design and copywriting. And I just kept learning and more tools. And so, but at the heart of my heart, it's branding, messaging, understanding who your ideal audience is. How do you differentiate you from your competitors and from other people in your industry? And in an age of AI, it's really challenging. It gets even more challenging in the sense that you can use AI and many people are using it, but are they using it correctly to really differentiate themselves? I would say probably not. And so this presentation is really diving into that. And what is your brand? How do you differentiate yourself from your competitors and colleagues, and so that you can be more efficient, and you can stand out and compete so that people understand who you are. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Um, are you competing in a market where everyone sounds the same? And especially when you think about AI, people will, and I did this, when I first started, I would go out there and I would look at my competitors or people that I wanted to look like or emulate. And I started sounding exactly like them. Well, then people can't differentiate you from them. And that's something we want to always do. And so, AI, you know, AI handed everyone the same tools. And so your competitor can write as well as you do. Their websites can look as good as yours. The proposal rise as fast as yours. The content sounds as polished as yours. But the difference is that polish stops, and it became the floor. And so that is what everybody works on. Who all here is using AI now to help with their marketing and branding and messaging and communications? And Tiffany, you can just, or Laura, somebody can just let me know that. That would be
Yeah,
great to know.
the chamber
Yep.
is for sure.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's important. I use AI every day. I've been using it for 5 years and I know how important it is. And you have to stay up on it because it changes constantly too. But you have to use it in a strategic way. And you also have to understand who you are as a brand, who your audience is, what their wants and needs are, and how you can differentiate them, and make sure that your voice is different than everybody else's. And so those are a lot of the things that we do now on a daily basis. We do use AI to help us do that, but we're always infusing our clients' personas, their voice, and what makes them different. So um, if we compete on efficiency, it's always going to be faster, cheaper, and you'll be able to get more. And every one of these is a promise about transaction, not about the person. And that's the big differentiator because now our audience is smart. We're using AI. They're beginning to understand AI and they know we're using AI. And so I literally have had clients come up to me and say, oh, I saw this thing and I know it was AI generated. So we have to make sure that we're doing things in the right way. All of these places get copied, and it's faster and faster and faster. Every day, it's faster. So how do you start to change this? Is by changing the feelings, because even though all those things are happening, as human beings, an AI can't feel, and so we have to infuse our feeling into it. And that basically is at the bottom of what branding is. It is not, and you'll hear me talk about this later. Branding is is not just your logo. It's not your colors. It's not what people see. It is what people feel. And that's the big differentiator. And so you could have 3 quotes, almost the same price. You pick the one that felt right. And then you rationalize that afterwards. And so that's what our clients are doing. And we have to be the one that felt right. Is anybody here a fan or know Maya Angelou?
Yes.
Yay, Tiffany. So I live by this quote from her. I've learned that people will forget what you said, they will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. That is the big differentiator. And that's what true branding really is helping our audience understand how how we want them to feel when they associate themselves with our businesses. So here's the big idea. And in copywriting, I'm a copywriter. I'm also a strategist, and I look at big pictures and big ideas. And so the feeling here is the only part of your business that a competitor cannot copy is the feeling that they have. And so we want to make sure that we're diving into that. So let's talk a little bit about what branding is. So, and what it is not, because a lot of people don't really get that. Branding is not any of these. I mean, it's not just these. So your logo, market recognition. When a market recognition is the Nike swish. And so when I started my career, I went to school at Miami. Great, yay, Miami. Whoever hears, shout out to all the Miami alums. Um, and I went to school for graphic design. I had a double concentration in pattern design and graphic design. And so I understand the Nike swish, the Apple icon. That's the mark of recognition. And then, but it does not make anyone trust you. And those brands pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to have that brand and logo out into the world all the time. So it gives you recognition, but it doesn't make people trust them. And so your tagline is a sentence that you wrote about yourself. We do this, that type of thing. Again, it's talking about you. I'm also a story brand guide. So when Dan had mentioned to you about messaging, that is something I'm very passionate about, is making sure that your story, somebody's trying to get in, Laura. I'm gonna let them in. Okay. Making sure that your story is about your audience. And so if anybody here has read the book, Building a Story Brand, yay. If you haven't, go to my resources page and you can get the copy. You can download what it is. Highly recommend that book, because that is something that I've been teaching for about 8 years now. You have to understand that we are their guides. Our audience is the hero of the story. And so your tagline, most people are writing about themselves. When they go on their website, they're making it about themselves. People don't care. They want to know how you can help them. And so we want to make sure we're weaving in the right story in the right way. All of this ties together. Your website, the clothing, everything that's in there, how trustworthy you are, how responsible you are, how many people, businesses that you've served. That's all great, but it doesn't address your brand. And so that's what we're going to be talking more and more about. Okay, come on. Let's see if it's going to go here. Oh, wait, did I go too far? Here we go. So branding is the gut feeling a person has about you. So Marty Neumeier wrote a book called The Brand Gap. This is the most simplistic book that you've ever seen, but I will tell you, or read, I will tell you, it is extremely difficult to be simple and get the feeling and the story across in the right way. That takes a lot of expertise to do that. Marty Neumeier is one of the best. He is a mentor for me. And if you have to think about this, branding is the gut feeling the person has about you. It's not what we're telling them. It's what they're feeling when they encounter you, when they see a Pepsi versus a Coke at a party, when they see somebody walking to them with a Nike shirt versus an Adidas shirt. That is, they have a feeling about that. What you wear, how you present yourself, whether it's in person or online, it's all, it's perception. And in their minds, perception is reality. So it belongs to them. The brand belongs to them. They're the ones that are defining it, not us. But it's our responsibility to bring forth the right feeling for them, so that they get the best feeling and they have the best understanding of what makes us different than all the other competitors that they can choose from. So here's 3 different other people that are people that you may or may not know. A metaphor, a mechanism, and a test. So Walter Linder, products are made in the factory, but brands are created in the minds of the consumer. Seth Godin, another amazing marketing mentor and guru. A brand is a set of expectations, memories, stories, and relationships behind choosing one service over the other. So think about that. Part of the job of what the Hilton had, oh my goodness, I can't believe I said that. The chamber does, the Hamilton Chamber does, is build relationships. And I will tell you that of all the chambers I've ever had the honor to be a part of, the Hamilton Chamber is by far the best chamber to doing that. Dan and Laura and Tiffany and your whole team are amazing at building relationships and creating better expectations and beautiful memories. All of that is part of the brand. You're doing all of this intrinsically, but some of this, there's always ways to improve. There's always gaps in the way, or things that you can add to make things better. And so then we've got Jeff Bezos, who is obviously over Amazon. Your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. That is the truth. And I don't know if you've ever played that test before, but if somebody, we do this on the regulars, not necessarily for branding per se, but it does weave in the branding in the sense that, how did you find out about us? A marketer should always be asking that. And I know Tiffany does this. And so, how did you find out about us? And somebody starts telling the story about, oh, I was at dinner and I told them I was new to the area, and I said I was looking for ways to network. And then the person I had dinner with said, hey, you should be talking to Tiffany at the Hamilton Chamber because they're amazing and they will help you. That is branding. Here's some words that people mix up, and they mix it up a lot. Only the first one is about feeling. The others are the three that carry it. And so if you think about, and I need a good metaphor for this, so if anybody's got one, let me know, is branding is the word, who you are, your character. It does not change when you walk into the room. And so you want to make sure that you are obviously presenting yourself in your best light. And so I am sure that every time I go to the chamber, it's been a hot minute. It's been a few years since I visited the Hamilton Chamber on outside of virtually. But it's beautiful to have the big conference room in the center that people can use and businesses can use. It's all about building that community. Dan is always looking dapper, even down to the photos that you all had. And I think, Dan, do you still have the photo of you on your motorcycle?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That's talking about your character. That, and that, people, if you have I don't know if everybody can see me here, but if you have a pose like this is this is like a executive pose, or this, which is a hero's pose, that just shows your authority. And that's wonderful. But what makes you approachable? What makes people want to come up to you and say, I want to talk to that person because I feel like they could, they would be approachable. And so those are things that branding does, that the messaging, the marketing, and the experience all help to pull together. And so what you say, the words may change by audience, but the character behind them does not. So no matter if I gave this presentation to 14 other chambers, which I wouldn't, you are the first ones to get this presentation. I might change the wording up a little bit, but the person behind it stays the same. I hope that resonates with everyone. I feel like I'm talking very quickly, and I'm trying to also be conscious of the time too. So, but marketing is how you get in front of people. And so the marketing is, how do you communicate that? And it's not just marketing, is also with the branding and the messaging. Before that, it's not just marketing outside of your business, it's marketing within your business, so that everyone on your team is all saying the same thing, doing the same thing, feeling the same way, bringing forth the marketing and the messaging and the branding so that everything looks consistent. There's a very big difference if you go to Coca-Cola in Atlanta versus going to Pepsi. Very big difference. And the marketing gets the word outside and inside. So it's internally and externally. And you have to get them both right. A lot of people think marketing is just pushing, doing social media ads or getting flyers out there or having banners. That's all outside marketing, and it is all important. But before you can get that, you have to make sure that everybody on your team is all on the same page too. Something I'm dealing with down here in Hilton Head with my clients. And so very important. And then the experience is how you treat the people once they say yes. And so, and that it also goes even before that. So customer experience and customer hospitality, that's all very, very important, especially now, and especially if you have, well, whether you're an online business or an in-person business, it really doesn't matter. And so those are a lot of things that I'm working in and very excited about, is about hospitality. Because again, AI cannot make hospitality. AI cannot give anybody an experience, but you can.
Darla, if I could
Oh,
just interrupt for a second.
sure.
I think you just said something really powerful. When people are so concerned about AI, and AI is a tool,
Mhm.
and everybody thinks it's going to replace everything. But you just said something critical, because that kind of spans across all industries. That feeling, that the emotion that humans are able to evoke. Um,
Mhm.
that's just a very powerful statement. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for recognizing it. And anybody who has a question or a comment, please, just tell me I've got a question, or raise your hand and we'll get to you for sure. Because it is, you know, like you said, Dan, a lot of people they're afraid of AI. They didn't know what it does, and a lot of people still don't understand what it does. But then they're using it, but then you're starting to be afraid of that it's going to take jobs. But it can't replace a human being. It can't. And as long as, we have, there's all this ethics on AI, and as long as the right people are still controlling things and keeping things going in the right place, I feel like that hopefully will always stay, that the AI doesn't get away from us. But they can't replace a human being ever. And so we have to stay in that genius and not be fear-based, to think, oh my goodness, this is the end, the sky is going to fall, because it's not. You just got to stay ahead of it and be able to work with this tool. So it runs in a loop, not in a line. So it's, and in my next iteration of this slide deck, I will make that a loop. So visualize a circle, and you've got branding, messaging, marketing, hospitality, and customer experience. That just continues to go around and around and around. They all work together. So branding earns the trust, messaging carries it, marketing spreads it, hospitality and experience proves it. And that's why people keep coming back to you. So then the referral feeds into the brand again. That is why one bad first meeting will cost you more than a bad ad. So I don't know if you've all heard this before, but bad news travels faster than good. It's the truth. So people they're not shy to go onto Facebook or Yelp or Google Business or any place and put on a bad comment, and it is slanted to them. And so it's all, so it's going to be their perspective, their perception of things. That could cost you good clients that will look at that and never even look at you because of those reviews. Branding helps stop that. Here's the big one too. We do not own our own brands. Our customers do, our clients do, but we influence it one touch point at a time. And it's up to us and our responsibility to make sure that's happening. So the good news is that the touch points are free to change, but rebrands are not. And so you have to make sure that you're constantly refining and iterating and making sure that the touch point, if you are not familiar with what that is, a touch point is a social media goes out about a campaign. Let's just use this event as our example. So Dan and the team put together and said, we're going to talk about this event. And then Laura reached out to me and said, hey, Darla, can you do this on this day? Sure. And then they put out, Tiffany and the team put out social media for it. They also probably put out an email about it. So social media is a touch point, email is a touch point, Being in front of people is a touch point. So somebody came into the office and they're like, "Hey, are you going to come to the coffee and conversations? We're going to be talking about branding." That's another touch point. And so, we influence our touch points all the time, but we never own the brand. Is that clear, everyone? Oh, I see. Thank you for shaking your heads, lady. Okay. So number two, why does this matter more? Okay. This is some facts. 360 people end in a click out of 1,000 Google searches. People will click into something and see. They will just go click. They'll look at what's on the website or look at the review, and they go away. And that's, we want to make sure we keep them there. Part of that starts back at branding. 640 they don't get what they want. They got their answers without visiting anyone. They did not compare 3 different websites. I don't know if anyone here, like, we live in a beautiful small home here on the island that was built in 1988, and it needs a lot of work. And so I might be against the norm, but I don't just take one recommendation or one referral. I will do due diligence and I will go out and compare 3 different handymen or 3 different people to do my floors. And so that's something, but a lot of people don't. They'll go off of one recommendation or they'll go and look, and then that's the end. And they've made that decision on a split choice. And so we don't want to be one of them. 85% of business buyers purchase from a vendor that was already on their list before they search at all. That is the truth. And so it's always easier to keep a client than it is to get a new acquisition, a new client. It's always easier. But if you're setting yourself up for success, from your branding to your messaging to understanding who your ideal audience is, to your marketing strategy, to the hospitality that you give and the experience that evokes in them, then it's easier to keep those customers. That's why, the chamber does so well at retaining all of us, because they're always giving, and that makes a difference. And then on day one, the list that they arrive with, the search does not decide it. The feeling they already had decides it. The search only confirms the choice. And so if they go and they look somewhere else, this is what they're typically doing. Okay. So AI knows who you are. That is not the same as recommending you. In my world, and I know Tiffany and the team can attest to this. I say Tiffany because I know Tiffany does marketing. So is in the sense that we're using AI on the daily. We also know that people aren't going to Google as much. If you guys remember the term, well, just go Google it. Or my nephew used to say, go out to the what was it? It was basically go out to Google and get the answer. Google has all the answers. Not anymore. That's changed. That's a paradigm shift. So it's changed from everybody going to Google or to Yelp or to, I always go to Google, so I don't think of the other ones as much. But now they're going to Perplexity. They're going to ChatGPT. They're going to Claude. They're going to Grok. They're going to Gemini. So they're going to Copilot. You have to think about that. And you have to think that you want to have that exposure to everyone. So now it's not just SEO, which is search engine optimization, it's AEO, AI optimization. So you have to make sure that you're being seen, but it's still not recommending you. It will go off of what other people have said and give you top choices if you ask, but that's a lot of work. But again, everything starts with the right brand and the right brand message. So here's some stats on this that will start making you think about it. And so 89% of the same brands never appear when asked for the best options. I would hedge a bet that most of us are in that 89%, especially if we are a small business. So, two things that AI doesn't generate. They're also the only two nobody automates is how it makes how it feels to be your client. So, have anybody thought about that? What? How do you? How have you asked your clients? How how do they feel when they're working with you? That's branding. And then number two is what people say when you leave the room. That goes back to what Jeff Bezos said. So how do people talk about you when you are not there? That's your reputation, and your brand is your reputation. Services and hospitality are two different jobs. A lot of the I work with a lot of service industries. I work with a lot of professionals. So, and I work a lot in the medical and healthcare field. And that is something that is, especially when I'm working with coaches and executive coaches and ADHD coaches, and I'm working with accountants and lawyers, and I'm working with doctors' practices. They're very, very different to be a caring service like a doctor's office than to make sure that you have the right hospitality throughout the practice. Has anybody ever gone to a doctor's office and the person who's at the front desk is just mean or not kind? I have.
Yes.
That's already giving that you're coming in feeling bad and thinking, my goodness, what's the doctor going to be like? And you're hoping that the doctor is going to be nicer, but it's confusing and you don't want that. And so you want to make sure that the brand is felt all the way throughout, because those are the first people that people see. So at 11 Park Madison, this is a restaurant that was ranked the best in the world in like 2018. And the gentleman who co-owned it, his name was Will Guidara, and he wrote a book. And I'm happy to share this information. If anybody wants to email me, I'm happy to share this with you, because it's not even on my resources page because I haven't had time to update the resources page. But after reading this book, it is amazing how much it weaves into your brand. And you have to still make sure that 95% is executed perfectly. And that means everything is running like a well-oiled machine from the front of house to the back of house. And then 5% is all hospitality. And that's the difference. And there's beautiful stories. You can go out to his website. You can find him on YouTube. But this is a really important thing that most businesses miss. It's a missed opportunity. So service is what you give to people, and you need to make sure that that service is running really, really well. It's doing the job right. It's what you get paid for. But then hospitality is going the extra mile to bring in your branding, making someone feel cared for, making someone want to keep coming back to you because you did something for them and their family that they share with their loved ones and their friends, so that then their friends want to have the same experience. That's the difference. The 95 and the 5, understanding services versus hospitality. And so here's a little bit more information about the detail of this. It has to be a flawless execution. And with many of the businesses that I work right now, that takes a long time to get to be flawless. And it's not because they don't want to be. It's just because most of us live in we're on the inside of a bottle. Our patients and clients and customers are on the outside. So we don't see what they see. And that's a challenge that I take on to make sure that my clients see what their patients see, good, bad, or ugly. They have to see it, or what their clients are seeing and what they're saying, so that we can either fix it or amplify it. And then 5% is the personal unscripted moments that are lasting. And to give you a quick analogy of this, Will talks about in his book, there was again, this is a 5-star Michelin 5-star restaurant in New York. It took him, I think, 11 or 12 years to get to best in the world. Most of them were over in Paris or in Spain or over in Europe, and they finally got it. But what they started doing was, the 95% is what everybody thinks they're doing. They're doing all the right things. They realized that they had to take that 5% and make that unreasonable hospitality. And that is what the book is called, Unreasonable Hospitality, in the sense that you take and have an experience that when they walk in the door, the maitre d' knows you by name, whether you've been there before or not, because they've Googled it to make sure that they know who you are. That when you come in as a client, you've come in as a guest, and you've brought your dad, who's a Budweiser guy. All he wants is a good Budweiser and a steak, and they send their team of Dreamweavers out to the bodegas to find all different kinds of Budweisers. They put it into a beautiful silver um, uh, ice bucket, and they bring it over to the table and say, here's any Budweiser you would like, because it's clearly not on their list, but they went out and took care of it so that the dad felt more at home to eat his Budweiser with his amazing steak. And then Will went back to him and to his friend, who he knew the client, and said, what did your dad think? He said he was amazed by the experience. All he keeps talking about is that you all went and got him Budweisers. That's unreasonable hospitality. That's the difference.
So, Darla, I have a tough question for you, but
Sure.
I almost hate to ask, but I'm going to anyway.
Okay.
95% flawless execution is really hard to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, it seems to me what you might be saying is, if you can't achieve that, can you make up the difference by increasing the percentage of hospitality and the experience? So if I can't achieve 95%, okay,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm a good 75 or 80, if I
Mm-hmm.
go over and above in the experience, can it make up for things that maybe I'm not as good at, the
Yeah.
physical things?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dan. And it can never hurt it for sure. I think you definitely can do that. But however, you still as a business should always be striving to improve the 95%, to make it from 75 to 78 to 80, and just keep striving to do that, but still weave in the 5% of what else can we do that makes us stand out and be different in our clients' eyes, that they then go tell everyone else, because we all know referral marketing is the best way to get clients. If somebody else tells somebody, I need to go to the chamber because I had such a great experience, then that makes our job that much easier to get that client. And so my answer to you is yes, but you should never stop trying to make the 95%. Try to be better. Now, I will tell you again, it took him years to get to this. But what happens is that if not everyone is buying in to the hospitality part, and you don't have complete buy-in, and you don't have complete understanding of what are some things that are really going to make a difference, then you may have some challenges,
I
but it's
guess
still worth doing.
I guess what makes me ask the question is, I tell business people, everybody makes a mistake at some point, or everybody drops the ball, or everybody, something went wrong with a particular job or whatever.
Yeah.
I think, I've always stressed how you recover from that is extremely
Mhm.
important, because I remember
Right.
times where I was disappointed in a business or a service or something,
Mhm.
how they kind of fixed that then stuck
Mhm.
with me, which I guess would really be
Yeah.
part of the experience in the brand. So they were able to make up for something that was
Yes.
disappointing
Mhm.
by, really going over and above to make that correction.
And that's a very good analogy, and it's very true. And in that case, it's an easy fix, but you have to be aware of it and be able to fix it too. So, like, say for example, I'm trying to think of an example here where I've done that. Oh, so we've gone to dinner here. Hilton Head has wonderful places to go to dinner, and I sent my mom and my aunt to Hudson's, which is one of the well-known places to go get seafood. And the waitress was never around. She was not a happy person. She wasn't very accommodating. They weren't happy with their meal. I mean, everything that could go wrong went wrong. And instead of her going to her manager and saying, "Look, this is just not, they're not happy. What can we do about that?" To recover, she just said, "Here's your check." And my mom and my aunt will never go back to Hudson's. So in that sense, what you just said, yes. And that's why the team has to communicate together and be on the same page. If Is anybody here watch the series The Bear? I think it's on Hulu, and I think it's out on Netflix now. Highly, highly, highly encourage you to watch this season of The Bear. Um, Actually, in the series, the gentleman who's called cousin is like, he's over the front end of the house, and he has like lost his way, and so he goes to a famous restaurant in Chicago, because this is based in Chicago, and he goes there and he learns how a well-oiled business and restaurant is run. And then he's like, "I got it." And he's excited, and he comes back and he's like, "We're going to incorporate all of this into the Bear." And he starts doing that, and his team starts, they're all on board too, and they all have sign languages, and he's reading the book, and it is amazing to see. And so at the very last of the season, I am seeing this happen in real life through a story, through a restaurant. And it is using all of the 95%, the flawless execution, but then the personalized and unscripted is in the last series of The Bear. I highly recommend you all look at this and see what you're taught, understand it more, because a lot of things go wrong. But as Dan's saying, you can't fix what you don't know, one, and you can't, and you're never, you need to be able to improve and, let it go. It's a learned situation. How do we make things better? How do we improve it? And this is a way to doing it. So service is not what you get paid for. Service is what you get paid for. Hospitality is what people repeat. And so the more we can do that, the better. And that's Will Guidara, and that's the book that I would highly recommend you all reading. A brand story is understanding the emotional connection. So how is the brand strength lies in the ability to evoke emotions. What do we want to evoke? And so if you look at branding from a brand archetype perspective, so think about Harley Davidson's, how they evoke emotion versus Ivory Soap. Very, very different. Very different. And so what is your brand trying to evoke? And then the narrative power is the stories that you're telling. And all of this goes together, is how do you craft a compelling brand story that allows the businesses to convey their unique stories, their uniqueness, and what they stand for, why they're different, so that they create a sense of belonging to your clients and the people that you want to work with too. Because that's a whole other thing. If you don't know who your ideal client is, that's all part of the stuff that we work on with people on the daily, because it is important to understand who you want to work with versus who you don't want to work with, because you're going to be great for some people, but not everyone. And that's something we also want to keep in mind. And then we got coherence. As a client feels that one business at every stop, or do they feel like they walk into three businesses sharing the same name? Can anybody relate to that one? I can. I have businesses that where it's not cohesive. it's confusing. And as Donald Miller would say, a confused mind never buys. So if they don't understand who they're working with or how you can help them, and they see that you do this, 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 and this, but it doesn't work together, then they're confused and they'll leave. And so we don't want that to happen. And clients can see that instantly. They don't, we have very smart people that are coming to us to help us solve their problems. And so we want to make sure that they understand that. So Scott Wozniak also wrote a book, and fans are engineered, not lucky. One grand gesture produces nothing. Lawrence Vincent, who is another marketing and branding person, says ordinary brands win on price, legendary brands win on story. And so Dan and Tiffany and I went through messaging for the Hamilton Chamber a couple years ago. And that's how you start to build legendary brands, is by creating a great story, a great brand and clear brand message that talks about how you understand their problems, that you are the authority and you have empathy that can help them win the day, making it about them and not about you. So we want to name it, find it, and say it. And so I'm going to try to do this really quickly. Name it. 3 words of how your client feels after working with you. Try to write this down or make this as a note. What are the 3 words, not a paragraph, that you want people to think of after they had the experience of working with you? And then here's an example of an accountant. My husband is an accountant. He's a fractional CFO. So if you are in tax season and you're an accountant, after tax season, the goal is that your clients feel relieved, prepared, and unhurried because they got all of their stuff done on time. And so this is like for a 2-person accounting firm. So it doesn't talk about accuracy. This is not talking about deadlines or credentials. Those are the price of entry for every firm has. But the clients feel relieved, prepared, and unhurried. People buy based on how they feel. That is a fact. We are human beings, and marketing is all about all about psychology and how do we make people feel.
Darla, I hope that your husband is using those words to market himself, because I never really thought of that. I've never seen an accounting firm take that direction.
Thank you for telling me that. And we're in the process of redoing his website, so you can bet it'll be on there. There's versions like it on his site, but his site needs to be revamped. We did it kind of down and dirty. But yes, the other clients that I've worked with in Westchester, and they came from the chamber, is we do have that. That was all over the website, is how, how do they feel?
Right.
We want them to feel that way. And so write down the 3 words that you would say. And if anybody wants to put it in the chat, or if they want to say what their 3 words are, that would be great for me I'm happy to use that as an analogy, and we can try to work with them just to use this as an exercise. Okay, so the next thing is you want to find it. Walk the path the client takes. Score every stop against your 3 words. So for one of the practices that I'm working with right now, it is a very, very large medical practice here on the island. And one of the things that Will does is he says, walk the same path, like literally come into the patient, into the front foyer. What do you see? What does it look like? And then how, what is there music playing? Does it feel pretty? Is it tight? Are there tons of notices all over the windows? My girlfriend went to, somebody's got some things in the chat box. Let me just tell the story, and I want to hear what people are saying. a girlfriend of mine went to a specialist here on the island because where we live is there's a lot of retirees, so there's a lot of older population. So she went to a sleep specialist. She got there in the hallway, in the entryway was a wall with glass. All over the glass were all of these notices. Pay now, see this. The whole thing was covered with what to do and what not to do, which would make anyone feel pulled. It's like, this doesn't feel very friendly or inviting. And then the person slid the door across and said, "Can I help you?" And she's like, "I'm here for my appointment." "Okay, sit down. He'll be with you in a few minutes." And then she went back to talk to the doctor, and the doctor's like, you know, we want, she complained about it in a nice way and said, "Wow, that was a little off-putting." And he's like, "Yeah," like he didn't care. And so she's like, "I won't go back to that doctor." And I wouldn't go to that doctor because of her experience. And so you want to start looking at, how are they coming in? What does it look like when they go to the restroom? What does it look like what does the outside of the building look like? What does your website first screen look like? What is your first meeting like? How is your proposal prepared? All of these things are things that they're seeing that we need to look at. The break is almost never the logo. You may have a beautiful logo, but what happens is it's, everything else is not all in alignment. And so that's something that we also have to keep in mind. The biggest gap between your marketing promises and your first meeting, because we want to make sure everything, again, is cohesive and everything works, from the branding to the messaging to the marketing to the experience. Okay, so Laura, is there notices on the 3 words?
So Dan has added empowered, confident, and supported. And Maria with Nagoya Events has added reliable.
Love it. Okay. And okay, so empowered. Okay, give me Dan's again.
Supported.
Confident, supported.
And then Maria has reliable.
Yeah. And Maria, I would say come up with 2 other words and make them very different. Talk about your personality. What makes you different? What have clients said to you? That's another one too, for everyone here. Ask your clients, talk to them. Ask your clients, what makes me different? Why are you working with me versus anyone else? And see what they say. See what they say. One of my clients said recently, and I'm going to botch this, but he said something on the lines of, no one has gone to the depth of what you've done, Darla. No marketer I've ever worked with has ever gone this deep to understand our business. That is a differentiator for me. And they also said that my bandwidth of what I understand about business in general was also way beyond what they thought they were going to get in a marketer. That also is something that, and I haven't figured out what those 3 words are, but I will. But most people come to me because they feel that I listen to them, I'm approachable, and they know I'll get the work done. They trust me. They trust me and in the process. Those are some of the things that come to mind. But I love hearing what you all are saying. Okay, so say it. I help who, what, have this problem, feel what. So Dan, if you would say, I help, how would you say that, Dan, for the chamber?
I would say businesses and organizations who are pursuing success feel empowered, confident, and supported.
Great. That works. Sometimes you might want to go with a negative, like what is the problem that they're having? So I would riff off of that and just challenge you to go a little bit deeper and say, I help. the Hamilton Chamber helps organizations and businesses who are looking for, like, what is their problem? What would you say is their problem?
Well, I
They're
think,
looking for more business, right?
yeah, I mean, sometimes they don't have a big problem, but they don't know how to go to the next level.
Right. Okay. Who don't know how to go to the next level, feel supported. Um, what else were the other ones?
Empowered and confident.
There you go. There you go. Go to the next level. Everyone's trying to go to the next level. And so I love that. And so for this one, this is what Joe would say. I help business owners who dread tax season feel relieved, prepared, and unhurried. Who doesn't want to feel that? Okay. Write your one sentence, say it out loud, and then post it. And so we've already done that. Thank you. Where you are, where you were versus where you are now is you sounded, before you would sound interchangeable. You didn't have 3 words. You were disconnected to win the work. Now you hold the price, because a lot of people were like, well, they just, take the price down to try to get the job. You can have more value and be like Mercedes than a Hyundai if you are not discounting your work. And so prospects, go quiet. Now, now you know where the trust leaks. And so you have to do some due diligence too. And that's uncomfortable. We have done a lot of surveys, which have been really helpful. Surveys are golden information. Surveys is something that we offer to understand what our clients want and what our prospects want, and where we can improve things. And also testimonials. We're very big on getting testimonials for our clients so that we can hear what their clients are saying about them. And then one touch point, one change. Take a moment to write down your third post-it, change how it feels, kind of tweak it a little bit. So I would definitely ask you to look at that and see, what you can change over the next month, and start applying these and see how that works for you. So this is me, and I'm happy to chat with anyone, happy to answer any questions. I don't know if I ran over or not. Dan, you have to tell me.
Darla, you did run over, and it's been worth every second of it.
Thank you.
You continue to amaze me, because just when I think you've showed me all of your toolbox, you open up another category. So I do have a question for you in this, and you may
Sure.
not be aware, but have you been following the whole Buc-ee's thing here in Beaver Creek,
Yes.
Ohio?
Yes.
I
have.
couldn't help but thinking during your presentation that they're kind of, and everybody deserves to protect their, their logo and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
But they've kind of, they're being boycotted and everything else now. So I'm like, this is something that everybody was lined up when they, opened to get in and be the first to be to Buc-ee's, especially people who've been to other locations. Such a positive feeling, around that brand. And man, have they blown that up, at least here in Northeast Ohio. And it seems to me this could have probably been pretty easily resolved with a small business. It's like,
it could have been. They were just being bullies.
Yeah.
It very well could have been, and could have been handled so poorly, but that has definitely affected their brand, and it is nationwide, because we're hearing about it all the way down here.
Yeah.
And because I am from Ohio and know all about it, I'm like, oh my goodness, I won't go to a Buc-ee's.
Right.
And there's a lot of people from Ohio here. So yeah, they have definitely tarnished their brand. And now they look like they are the villain of the story. Buc-ee's is the villain of the story, and it is all over social media.
Well, and I know Beaver Creek, I was just reading where a lot of businesses are now adding a beaver to their logo.
I love it.
Just
I love it.
To say, are you gonna go after all of us? It's pretty amazing. So
yeah, that is a PR nightmare for Buc-ee's.
Yep.
And shame on them for doing that, really. I mean, I thought something I would tell anybody who's, even if you're with Buc-ee's, that they have to know. This has really tainted their business, their brand. That is their brand.
Yeah.
Because again, they don't control the brand. Their clients do. And they have a huge following, but
Yeah.
not in Ohio and not around here. So yeah, that's going to take some time to overcome. And big businesses have done this in the past where they've made influencers their brand, or and then something happened with the influencer, and then they have to backpedal on that. And I mean, it happens a lot, but that's a perfect analogy, Dan. So thanks for bringing that up.
Darla, I wanted to affirm this was such a thoughtful and definitely empowering presentation. If I could just, I have three questions, but to honor time, I'm going to ask two.
Okay.
And please feel free to tell me if this is something we should talk about offline. But
Sure.
what should artists, designers, photographers, and creatives be putting in their contracts regarding AI usage? We've had a few chamber members that are arts-based organizations, and they want to see how they can support other businesses or artists that utilize AI. What should they put in their contracts when it has to do with art?
Mm, that is so hard. I'm not a lawyer, so I would say first talk to a lawyer to see, for contract.
Mhm.
It's hard because I went to school for art and design, so that's near and dear to my heart, and I understand that. But they should really talk to their lawyer and see what they can do to protect themselves as far as for copyright reasons, which is something that's happened forever with artists. It's just now you have the internet that can go out there and manipulate. And so I know that there are organizations that are also trying to protect the artists too, and maybe they might also want to get involved with them or look for them and see where they can get some more resources to protect themselves. That's my first answer to that, but I'm happy to talk more about this on offline too, Jason.
Perfect. And
Yeah.
what I would love to do is maybe connect you with the Fitness Center, um,
Sure.
or maybe Tide Pool. There's
Yeah.
other arts organizations that I think are definitely thinking about this, and I think this would be a great continued
Yeah,
conversation. Um,
absolutely.
thank you for answering that. And then
Yeah.
the next question is, how can we insert AI optimization into SEO? Our
Mhm.
website has always been very big with SEO. A lot of our members benefit from that. And,
Mhm.
as a
Yeah.
chamber, we're definitely involved with a lot of different AI aspects. What are
Yes.
some things that we can do to incorporate AI optimization?
Yeah. One great question, Jason. Great question. I have a partner right now that is overseas, and we are doing a whole new taking AI and websites and optimizing them to make it much more user friendly. Which is another topic, but first and foremost, the easiest things to do is is grassroots in the sense of keeping your website alive, keeping it, and that means you don't have a static website that's just a billboard or a business card. So when we're writing content for our website builds, we're always thinking of what are the words that people are searching. That is in AI and that is in search engine optimization. And so we want to make sure that we're adding, so like since I helped with, some of the copy and content on the homepage of the website, you know, for the chamber, things have changed. And so there's ways of putting metadata into images. There's ways of keeping it alive by having blog content or having all of these coffee and conversations into a resource page that you embed and infuse relevant words that people will search, whether that's on Google or in ChatGPT or Claude. And so those are ways of doing it. The other thing to do is in your resources page is to have a blog or a video content that you can add that in there. And then the other thing is to have FAQs, frequently asked questions. What are the questions that they're asking about that topic that can go into that blog or on that website page, because that's what the AI is going to pick up.
I love that. Wow. Darla, this is my introduction to you, and I'm completely blown away.
Well, you made my day. Thank you, Jace.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any other questions for Darla?
I don't have a question, but I am going to make a statement. This is like all of our members should have been watching this presentation. So we're going to do something we usually don't do, and we're going to force it out to the entire membership with a link to say you need to watch this. So
Thank you, Dan.
and it'll also be
Thank
available
you.
later on our YouTube channel. But I think that this
Awesome.
is terrific, terrific, terrific information.
Thank you. And thank you, Dan. And the other thing I was going to tell you is, one, we gotta have a meeting to sit down and chat because I missed you all. But two, on YouTube, that's another way to optimize that YouTube channel to make sure it's got all the content and information there too. There's a lot of missed opportunities that people just they're not aware of. So we optimize every YouTube that goes out with our clients and for ourselves. We make sure that there's documentation in there that the AI or the search engine optimization that people will pick up. So I'm happy to talk more about that.
And I just want to make a statement. Darla is available to you. She is brilliant, as you can see. And just because she's not in Ohio doesn't mean she can't work with you. So she is
That's
one
true.
of our long distance members who is an amazing resource. So
Thank you, Dan.
I think we need to wrap this up. We are over
Yep.
time, but this has been terrific. Who's bringing this to a close? Is that you, Jason?
That will be me. Thank you, Dan. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in on Zoom and also on Facebook for watching. I know that Selfie Society had said that they are reading some of the books Darla mentioned. We also, a great way to stay in touch with the Greater Hamilton Chamber is to attend any of our ribbon cuttings. We do have a ribbon cutting coming up August 26th at 8 a.m. That is for a quick trip. We have another coffee and conversation on September 8th with Sensei. That will be Keith Brinkman talking about cybersecurity. I do want to also talk about Steak Fry happening at Land of Illusion in collaboration with the Middletown, Monroe, and Trenton Chamber of Commerce. That's going to be September 9th. That is a massive networking event at Land of Illusion, and we are going to be rolling out a tool to help people network even more efficiently. So you'll want to check out our website, make sure that you register in advance. We also have a Mix It Up coming up at Playground Equipment Services, September 17th. Once again, check out our website. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. Thank you all for joining us. Darla, huge thank you and shout out to you today. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Please reach out if anybody has any questions. I'm always happy to help.
Awesome.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.